And in the studio, we'll discover who's been watching whom in Slough with the very latest in closed-circuit television, why you should be making your guy for bonfire night now, what makes the Windsor Half Marathon so special. There's 3-to-1's new video and the Cable Corporation competition, where you could win free cable television for a whole year. Now, to start the programme in a jolly way, we're glad to say that after her deep relaxation at the Hydro Spa last week, Corinne Kent has discovered relaxation of another kind in the form of alcohol. A WMtv crew went along with her to Chiltern Valley Wines to help her keep her spirits up.
For years, we've been led to believe that French wine equals great wine. That for true depth of flavour, grapes need to ripen in the constant heat of the sun. So it would be impossible for England to have vineyards, right? Wrong. Generally accepted that Romans first brought the grapevine to Britain, but it wasn't until after the Second World War that experimental vineyards were set up to discover which varieties actually suited the English climate. So what adaptations actually had to be made? We asked Albert McMahon at Chiltern Valley Wines. What's the difference between English and French vineyards?
Many differences. Our vineyards are in the main based on a Geneva double curtain principle of growth. That's a generalization, but the style of growing grapes over here means that we have to create a canopy which gives the grape both protection from the weather and also increases the amount of daylight that's incident on the vine itself. And because the leaf is the sugar factory, that is, it ripens the grape, not daylight incident on the grape, then the more sunlight you have incident on the leaf, or just daylight, the better the result will be. In Bordeaux, for example, if you visit a vineyard there, their grapes are grown in, on plants that are much, much lower. The vineyard itself could be only 18 inches in height, but much, much more densely packed, whereas our vines will grow up to between 5 and 6 feet, which means that when you're harvesting, you do have the grapes at a much higher level, which avoids having to stoop, and it makes it much easier. We're much lazier, basically.
There are 400 vineyards covering nearly 2,000 acres in England, Wales and the Channel Islands. In 1992, production was 3.5 million bottles. Obviously they're doing something right. But what about the wine?
British wine is very different from English wine. British wine is from a concentrate as opposed to growing grapes in the first place. The concentrate is obviously made from grapes, but it's normally imported from other countries. As a concentrate, it's then diluted with water and possibly sugar or alcohol, and it creates a drink. I'm loath to call it a wine, but it does create what is loosely called a wine, and bears no resemblance to a good English wine at all. It's, I mean, for those of you that have tried the two, you'll know there is a major difference between the two. English wines are made from English-grown grapes, and the whole process is making wines from start to finish, not simply taking a concentrate as you would, say, orange squash and adding water to it and drinking it like that. And that's really the difference. Well, there's a huge difference in those two products.
Although England's knowledge and expertise in the field is widely renowned, English wine itself is woefully underpromoted. So what is its reputation in the industry? I'm here with John Kemp from Bordeaux Direct. He's going to fill me in on some of the little minor details. Now, John, what's You've been a wine taster for some time, so what is English wine's reputation in the industry?
The reputation is good, but a lot of people don't actually know very much about the wines that English vineyards are actually producing. There's a wide variety, but people just haven't had the opportunity to taste, or have perhaps just blocked their minds to the idea.
So we're actually going to be trying some wines today. Now, we've all heard of all the different wine techniques. I mean, some of them are really over the top, and I, for one, get a little bit intimidated. I just figure I won't bother. So what is the proper wine tasting technique?
Really, simply take a wine, any wine you like. We're talking about a white wine to start with today. And really, get yourself a reasonable amount of wine in the glass, and actually, if you can, choose a glass which actually tapers towards the top. That actually concentrates the nose of the wine. So that if you get the opportunity, just swill it around, like that, that's right. And then take a really deep breath. And you get a smell. You get a smell. It could be, to you, it could be pineapples. It could be a taste of sweets. It could be a taste of asparagus. It could be all sorts of different things.
Oh, pineapple, yes.
Yeah, and this one particularly, yes, very pineapple-y.
It's funny, though, because if you hadn't given me the vocabulary, it wouldn't have occurred to me. I thought I was at a loss. So, I mean, are there set kind of words that people use, or is it become this kind of inventive area where it's like, no, it's not pineapple, it's hot sneakers on melting tarmac, and, you know.
All of those things are fine, but they're very subjective. And I could say to you, this is very pineapple-y. You may say, absolutely not. To me, it's much more like a sort of newly mown grass. And you wouldn't be wrong, and I wouldn't be right. You know, it's very much what you find in the glass yourself.
So there's no kind of standard, like, say...
No, there shouldn't be either. There really shouldn't. It should be very much how you find the wine yourself. And that's the best way to describe it. So, you know, after you smell the wine, definitely taste it. And with that, never just take a sip.
Oh.
Just always take more than a sip, because if you just take a sip, it will affect the front of the tongue and may make it taste quite acidic to you. If you take a full mouthful, you can get it right round the mouth, and the whole tongue experiences the flavour.
Was that an English wine?
That was, yes. Yes, it was.
I mean, is there a way... I mean, obviously, German wines and French wines all have their kind of characteristics. I mean, can you actually spot an English wine, a different English wine in a different vineyard?
Right.
And be able to say, okay, well, this one's Chiltern Valley, or this one's that one.
There's certainly a style, just like there is in France, within the Loire, you will have different sorts of white wines from area to area. In England, you've got exactly the same, because you've got exactly the same things affecting the wine. So you have the climate, you have the soils, and you have the way the winemaker actually makes the wine. So all of those things, and the grape type, can give a variety of flavours to a wine. So it's very difficult sometimes to actually, when you see people doing blind tastings, it's not always easy to tell where the wine's from. No. You can usually get a detection of its age, and you can get a detection of where it's from, maybe, and perhaps what grape type it's made from, but there's no hard and fast rules.
Okay, but the age, is it, how can you tell if it's a young wine or an old wine?
Right. If you, for example, on a red...
We've decided you're going to educate me now.
Right. On a red, we've taken here Lamberhurst Red 1992. The way to detect simply on a red wine whether it's quite young or quite old is to make sure you've got a bright white background, perhaps on the table, such as we have there. And actually, without pouring it all over the table, is to actually look at the colour of the wine. And you'll see on this one, 1992, it's still quite young, as wines go. It's got a very purpley colour. Now, if I had a 1970 Chateauneuf de Pape from the Rhône in France, you would have a really orangey sort of brick colour to the wine. And the more orange, the more brown that the wine gets, generally that is an indication of its age. So if you get an orangey wine, it could well be from the 60s or the 70s.
Wow, but a red wine could be orange.
Yeah, yes, in its actual colour.
So it doesn't mean it's off?
No.
So it means it's quality, it means you've bought a good wine.
Indeed.
You spend £100, £200 or something, right? Okay.
But when you, this year, when the Beaujolais comes round in November, you'll get the wine, open it up, put the wine against a white background, and you will see it is vibrantly purple because it's very young.
Yeah.
So the purpler, the younger, orange, more brown, the old age on the wine.
Okay.
Obviously, there's a lot to see at a vineyard. It's a fascinating business to be in. And obviously, we would love people to come and look at Chiltern Valley whenever they're available, you know, at the time. It's an interesting sort of industry to look at the detail of, because there's so much mystique and so many misconceptions about English wine and vineyards in general that we dispel just by taking people on a guided tour.
Not only can English wine be great wine, but an English vineyard is the only place where you can drink and buy wine throughout an entire Sunday afternoon. Worth investigating, don't you think?
If you'd like to find out more about local English vineyards, give Chiltern Valley Wines at Henley a call on 0491 638 330. That's 0491 638 330. And if you can correctly answer the question, if a wine is purple,